7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, and welcome back to another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. It is Super Bowl week 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that myself and some of the Squares weren't 100% sure we'd actually get to this point because we put stipulations in our contest this year. COVID has been up and down roller coaster. It's made for a crazy season, but we are here February 7th in Tampa, Florida. The Chiefs versus the Buccaneers. Tom Brady has done it again. He has gotten another team to the Super Bowl. He is looking to actually become a guy who has won more Super Bowls than any team in NFL history, which is crazy. We're going to talk a lot about him, a lot about the young gun, the passing of the torch maybe in this game, Patrick Mahomes. Spike's already shaking his head. But I got to say, the thing I'm most impressed with, I know it almost happened a couple years ago with Minnesota, but just being able to play a home game in your own stadium. My family, who lives in the Tampa Bay area, is sending me photos and videos of all the NFL experience stuff they're doing, and they have a couple of guys that are available for media, but you're like, 3 football fields away to be able to see them and stuff with all the COVID and everything. But it's got to be a fun treat for the home fans to do this experience, which I've done before. Also have been to a Super Bowl before, but it wasn't a team I had rooting interest in. But Token, I know you have no experience in this, but I mean, if somehow the Super Bowl when it was in Detroit had the Lions, like how cool of an experience would that have been? Or maybe it could be. I don't know if they're.
It was an awesome experience with all the media in town and all that. I lived about 10 minutes away from the airport, and you could tell traffic between the airport and downtown Detroit was like it magnified by like 3 to 5 times during that whole week. It was a madhouse.
Wasn't there a big snowstorm then too? I can't remember.
Yeah, during that week there was one pretty decent sized one. I think it was about 8 to 10 inches of snow during one of those nights, and the people that weren't used to the snow, you could definitely tell. A lot of spin outs, lots of donuts, and lots of cars off the side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, Spike, you're talking about just in recent memory, we've got Detroit, we've got Minnesota, and I believe they had one in the Meadowlands as well. Like, they're 0 for 3 with Northern Super Bowls, like, with the weather. Like, I mean, eventually, are they going to give up, or are they just giving a Super Bowl to every new stadium? That seems like the way.
Yeah, I think that has to go to every new stadium, especially after, you can't predict the weather in the South either. I mean, we remember that Super Bowl with Peyton Manning where it was just pouring rain the entire time. So weather is weather. You're going to get it no matter what, unless you're going to have the Super Bowl in a domed stadium every year, which just gets boring. You're just going to have to compete with it. And, I think it makes for a better broadcast. Like for those of us sitting at home that don't actually have to be in the stands and suffer through all the snow and all that wind and rain and all that bullshit. It makes for a better broadcast. I can't imagine sitting in it, but enjoy it.
And that's fair. To be fair, the 2 of those Northern Super Bowls were actually in domes in Minnesota and Detroit. So once they got inside, they could take their coat off and shake out their snow boots. But this is the 5th meeting between Brady and Mahomes. Each guy is 2 wins and 2 losses. I mean, Tony, both offenses have weapons galore. You have Hill, Kelsey, Edwards-Helaire, Hardman, Darrell Williams, et cetera. On the other side, you have Evans, Godwin, Jones, Fournette, to an extent Gronkowski. But the defenses have been playing well as well here in not only just the playoffs. I know you've been a big fan of Tampa's defense as well this year. All the focal, energy is going to go to the 2 guys, but the lesser known side of the ball, the defenses have been playing moderately well this postseason and 2020 season.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. I think it will be the winning team, whoever that will be, and I know we'll give our picks or thoughts on that a little bit later on. I think will be more of, who plays better on the defensive end, who is able to get the key sack, on third down and stop drives. When I don't know if we're going to have a ton of stop drives, installed in this game, but I couldn't agree more there. And I do think it'll become a defensive game. And will we see that, great Tampa defense that we saw in really large spots this season? There was a gap of 2 or 3 weeks where they didn't play all that well. But again, down the stretch when it was needed, and then into the playoffs, they've stepped up in many different areas. It's not just the defensive line, which I think has been the really hallmark, great part of that defense, but it's been some of the other spots too. So, yeah, I agree with you. And again, I maybe we'll get into the quarterback comparison a little bit later on, but I just, I'll go ahead and say it. I'm going to say I've been saying this for years now. I mean, there's no comparison here. Brady's a fine enough quarterback, but compare him to Pat Mahomes, it's laughable. I mean, come on, Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever seen by far, and Brady is, in the Aaron Rodgers realm of quality. He's quite good. He's been on great teams, but that's all we're working with here. I mean, clearly Tampa is in this point because that defense has been so good. Because it took so long for this offense, to really get going. It took 4, 5, 6+ weeks in order to at least have some sort of consistency. But
they held it together. You're right.
They really did. It's an impressive turnaround. What a turnaround it's been. One of the worst defenses in the NFL last year to top 5, top 10 for sure.
Yeah, and this next point, I want to go to the oldest guy on the podcast here. This is the oldest coaching matchup in Super Bowl history. They are combined 131 years and 86 days old. Two of the better coaches, obviously Bruce Arians' time as a coordinator, second to none in Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, as a head coach in Arizona. I mean, but Andy Reid's, they're talking about Andy Reid this week as maybe one of the best coaches not named, Bill Belichick.
Well, I remember back in the day when Alaska became a state and we were discussing whether or not you fucking asshole calling out my goddamn age in the middle of the podcast.
I didn't call your age. I said you're the oldest here. Did you see the first Super Bowl? On the Super 8?
Look, I appreciate what both of these coaches have done, but we've seen coaches get to a Super Bowl or two before. It's coaches get there every year. We're not about to put them in the realms of the great. Like Bruce Arians, is a good coach, but let's not forget Sean McVay got there a couple of years ago too, and people were saying that he's on the hot seat. Getting to a Super Bowl once does not a great coach make. So I think Andy Reid probably deserves to be in that conversation of the, good not named Belichick types a lot more than Arians does. We'll more power to him. I used to shit on Andy Reid quite a bit because, for as good of a coach as he was, he always found a way to mismanage the clock at the end of a game.
True.
He has gotten much better at that, especially these last couple of seasons. So,
I agree.
And I think it was that 2018 AFC Championship game between Brady and Mahomes. I think it's the last time these two quarterbacks met, as a matter of fact. That one that went into overtime that never should have gotten to overtime, where the Patriots hit 3 consecutive third down conversions to get into scoring position to either tie the game or win it in overtime. I forget exactly the scenario. And I think that did a lot for Andy Reid, which says a lot about his character. You learn from your mistakes and you become a better coach for it. And Andy Reid has become a better coach for it. And the Chiefs are a better team because of it.
Well, I know that your age does affect your short-term memory. I know you have Alzheimer's, but Brady and Mahomes did play this year.
Did they? I don't remember.
And last year in the regular season, too.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
But it's okay. It's okay.
Great point that you made, though. That doesn't take away from that.
It was a turning point for Kansas City. I will give you that. And it could lead, that loss could lead to what we may call, it all depends on how you define the word, but we may call a Chiefs dynasty coming up here. So we'll see. I mean,
I'm already calling it. I'm already calling it now.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I just, everybody has a different definition of that word. So, speaking of old people and can't count, at one point Tom Brady could not count to 4 this year against the Bears, but now he's hoping he can count to 7, so we'll see. Let's take a couple minutes here and just recap the championship games. We talked about it. We didn't have a show last week, so we didn't really get to talk about it, but it's been talked about. Token, the Bucks were able to beat Green Bay in Lambeau, basically holding on 31-26, and the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm drawing a blank on the score. I should have looked it up again. It was 38-24. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So which game did you feel had more excitement, more intrigue, despite the fact that one favorite won and one dog won?
To me, like I said before, it was the Chiefs game for sure. It just seemed more interesting to me, more engaged, especially with Mahomes, his health and all that, and how they were going to protect him, how they were going to use him, maybe if they were going to rest him. All those question marks were going to be answered in that spot, and they were. So, and it kind of flowed into what will probably be in this game too. I mean, is he healthy enough to keep on the field in a blowout and all that? And
yeah, and Tony, I mean, I know you love all things Patrick Mahomes and just have crowned him already, which is fine. But I'm not a fan of this Chiefs team spotting people leads. I know they're 4-0 in the last couple of playoffs doing this, but I hate everything about what they do about letting teams get out early. And maybe it's just that false sense of confidence before they basically bring out the steamroll truck. I don't know. What do you take about this? Like I don't want to say cardiac kids, because they're really getting back up by like the second or third quarter.
I think it's a good point you make, and to bring it back, and I don't want to make this a past Patriots Belichick show, but to me that is a little bit of the difference with some of those great teams. When you talk about the dynasty type of teams like that, just didn't allow other teams to get these big leads very often. That was such a rarity. You just wouldn't see that, from some of those, great Patriot teams. And, from here, that's why I'm with Spike. I don't really agree that this, this type of club or this franchise yet, can be put in that realm, because again, I think there's just too many times where they're allowing teams, into games where they had a really rough stretch at the end of that regular season where they just, they barely covered it. They didn't cover point spread. They barely won games. There's just too many mental hiccups, I think, with this team. And so, I'm with you, Aaron. You start to play really elite, high-quality teams in big spots, you can't keep spotting, this is not like spotting a lead to the, Houston Texans, last year. This is a much better team and a much better coach team. And, I'm with you. And to me, it's not one of those things, well, if they get behind 10 points, then you just bet Kansas City in play and everything will be fine. I've heard that so much this week. I don't think that's necessarily true in this game. This Tampa team, as we've already talked about, is a really well-rounded, really high-quality team. And it's not just from the quarterback position. It's from, many positions here. I really think that that type of mentality and that thought process, and even if it, doesn't happen, even if they don't come out flat, but Tampa just comes out really strong and, puts together a couple of big drives, I think that will be a really, really big problem. Because again, Tampa on defense, as we've seen, has not given up a lot of big plays. They did to this team in the regular season, I grant you that, but throughout the regular season, they just did not do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an exciting game. I think everybody's ready to watch it. And the thing is, I think they're expecting more eyeballs on this, too, with the COVID-19 pandemic going on, less travel occurring. A lot of people are going to be – see, what happens is usually, half the country usually watches the Super Bowl, but the problem is with ratings, they only go by TVs, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. But I think they're going to get a huge uptick, and I think we're going to see higher ratings in that because more TVs will probably be on to this Super Bowl this year. But I want to recap this 2020 season just with a few bullet points here, and I'm going to fire these out at you guys. And I want you to kind of give me your opinion on each of these things that happened in 2020. Because like I said, it's been a crazy season full of controversy, full of craziness. And the first thing I want to talk about, the NFC North guy, Token Tony. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and this regular season that he had after the Packers traded up to draft Jordan Love as a big middle finger to this organization. I mean, just how it started in April and everybody was literally laughing at the Packers, and now how it's ending in January, how they're going to be laughing at the Packers if Aaron Rodgers walks.
yeah, I truly don't see him walking at this point, especially what was said back and forth between the organization and Rodgers himself. But this year has been full of surprises, including the offseason already. I mean, even though we haven't played the Super Bowl yet, but there's still plenty of off-season to come. And if they find a good value for him and they're ready to move on, you could easily see him shift. So, I mean, especially what the Lions got in return for Stafford. I mean, though picking up,
could you imagine?
Yeah, I mean that. In all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if Rodgers gets traded and Watson doesn't.
Yeah, fair enough. That's actually a good wrinkle to the offseason. That would be interesting, especially since San Francisco has been the market whisper for all the quarterbacks that basically come available, which is surprising because you would think that's just the Patriots. But the Patriots aren't – their MO is not to give up, half a decade's worth of first-round picks for anybody. So, Tony, as the professional bettor here on the podcast, this one we talked about at the beginning of the season. You and I had differing opinions. I want to know if it factored into your betting or if you did a recap here, the no fans and how that mattered to some home field advantages and how that mattered to some lines.
Oh, it's a great question. And I think all of us, whether, betting professionally or just, for fun, we tried to figure that out, as the year went on, because there's no blueprint for any of this. So, and across all the sports really, but I know we'll stick to football, of course, here, but it's been fascinating. I know a lot of people from, bigger parts of the industry didn't move it at all, kept it as a neutral, kind of like a neutral field type of thing. Other people moved it only a half a point, some people 1 point, depending on where it was, but nobody was really more than 1 point. And we've seen in previous years past, it's been usually about 2.5, and then Kansas
when they're there, yeah.
Right, when they're there. So, a really big difference there. So my thought process, at least from the starting point, and actually, kind of culminated with the same type of thing. I got a little bit, I think, fortunate in that sense, was I tried to look for spots for away teams, for teams that were not given the benefit of the doubt. And I really attributed it to almost a zero. I saw it as a neutral field game. Really, basically. So, and maybe that attributed, this was my best season, actually against the spread on a sidewise. So maybe that wasn't attributed to that, but to me, it was away teams. It was getting points on the road in spots where I think that number was just 1 or 2 points, too strong. So to me, Aaron, I saw it really as overdone, even in the lines, even baked in. I really thought that it was taken too far, even without the fans, because I just don't see very much of a home field advantage, especially when when home teams are dealing with the same COVID issues that away teams are. You're still sequestered, away from your family. You're still, they're still staying in hotels. I think a couple of days, before the game was going, a lot of the teams went that route. Just because they had to do all this testing on Friday and Saturday before the games. It just, to me, it felt like almost the home team had a bit of an away experience too throughout the season. So that was at least my take, and that's kind of what I've had throughout here into the playoffs. Playoffs, I didn't really adjust very much either, to be honest with you. I didn't care that there were, 3,000 or 4,000 fans in Buffalo. To me, that doesn't move the needle as much. I just handicap the teams.
Fair enough. All right, Spike. The Pats playoff streak ends. Yep. The Bills are the only team not named the New England Patriots to win the AFC East this decade.
Huh. Amazing.
Crazy, right?
Amazing.
Yeah, was there a question in there?
I just figured I'd let you kind of take the ball and run there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, do you see a Bills dynasty for the next decade with Josh Allen, your favorite quarterback who can't beat UNLV?
I have warmed on Josh Allen. I'm not admitting I was wrong on the pick. I think he has just matured far more than I expected him to, and more power to him for that. No, I think the next few years are going to be pretty volatile in the NFC East. I think Tua and Miami are doing a real good job down there. I think that's a very interesting team to watch. Obviously, Buffalo's strong, and they should be strong for another couple of years. The Jets are actually going to be interesting. I don't think they're very good now, but they're only probably a couple of key players away, including a quarterback, from actually being competitive. Not great, but at least competitive to the point where they can screw up some seasons. So I think there's a lot to be said about the entire division becoming more competitive and kind of regressing back to the mean, so to speak, coming up. But I think for the next at least couple of years, it'll be the Bills that will be the class of this of this division.
What about the coaches out there, Spike? Do you like the hire that the Jets had this offseason?
No, but I mean, I'm biased because I don't like anything the Jets do. So, trying to be as unbiased as possible, I think they need a bigger name, and I don't know who's out there as a bigger name that they could get. Like, I don't know what else they can do except for like dig up the fossil of Jim Fossil or,
I like the Salah hire. I don't like that, or Salah, however you say his name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I would have tried to go for somebody with an even bigger name or better reputation or just something other than like I don't necessarily hate the guy as a coach, but it's just, this is a team that needs to be rebuilt, and I don't know that bringing in somebody that doesn't have a ton of like great rebuilding experience as a head coach to be the guy to do it for the Jets. It's not great, especially in that media market, because if he doesn't put results on the field quick, that's going to be a problem. And, it takes a certain type of person to be able to handle that kind of crazy media.
I tell you what, though, I think we're long overdue for a coach trade. And it's been that's what somebody should do. Long overdue for a coach. Because the thing is, you're talking about somebody with a track record, like you said, digging up a fossil. It's basically getting somebody with so much retread on their tires that it's no fair to these young coaches. You're right; he's got no experience, but he's going to be an interesting hire. He's definitely got a lot of charisma if you just watched him on the sidelines. But Token, if you just had a few words to say to Spike, because I know that you're used to not having your team in the playoffs, or something you'd like to say to Spike, who's just experiencing it now for the first time since 2008, I think.
2008.
I'm full of my life being disappointed, so at least you haven't lived your whole life in disappointment.
Misery loves company.
That's true. That is true. Although, given how bad Boston teams were for the first 20 years of my life, I'm not going to apologize for how good they've been for the last 20 years.
You guys did have it rough for a while. That's true.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Spike. And at this point, all Detroit sports teams are probably the bottom three in each category of professional sports right now. So
especially hockey. Oh my god.
Yeah, the hockey. I mean, the Red Wings are they're a joke at this point. I have no idea about the Pistons, but I don't know.
But for 30 years, Detroit was fine. Detroit was great.
Yeah.
At least you had something, I guess, a little bone.
Until the water in Flint became leady.
Lead in their belly, lead in their feet, and now they can't move.
Yep.
That's why they can't skate.
So, Tony, I saved this one for you because this was just such a crazy week that we talked about. And when we talked about all the hypocrisy with the Ravens, the Broncos played a game with 0 rostered quarterbacks.
Yeah, the NFL just let it happen, too. They just decided to fuck them all the way. And just it's amazing what the man can do to you if they're not happy or they want to try to make an example. That would have never happened to a high-profile major team, especially in the Northeast somewhere, Chicago, what have you. It's just, it's too bad. It's tough to watch. I mean, we all know this stuff happens. It's not like, we understand that money talks and, these things are going to be. It's not a perfect world. It's not a perfect society. It's not a perfect sport. But, yeah, I mean, whoever would have thought, that we would have seen something like this. Especially watching Kendall Hinton play a little bit in college. He was a reasonable quarterback, dual threat type of quarterback at Wake Forest. But after not having played the position for, 2-3 straight years, it's tough to get back into it, isn't it? Especially at the NFL level, of course. And that was a good team they played too. So, yeah, it was New Orleans, I believe, right? Yeah, it was just a tough game and a tough spot. And, it's too bad because that could have been a really fun game, an interesting game. I really thought Denver would have had a chance, in a realistic side, but then it was a mockery, of all that we love about this sport. I think all of us really do love it, for what it is, for different reasons probably. But yeah, it's a shame that sometimes that the league itself makes a decision and it just sort of ruins something, for a short time.
Yeah. I didn't really have this one for the panel, but I just wanted to give a kudos to a guy I clearly underestimated this year, Derrick Henry, 8th player in history to get 2,000 yards rushing. And the thing is, in the last 3 weeks, I think he had to average like 165 yards to do it. And the fact that he did it, it was just just incredible. So I didn't really have a lot to share on that one, but just a quick pat on the back of kudos to him. But Token, the one I want to talk to you about is the Alex Smith basically making this is going to be a movie, I think. To come back from everything that has gone wrong for him and to lead the football team to a division title. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And if the NFL somehow doesn't award him comeback player of the year, something's completely wrong with them. I mean,
just name the award after Alex Smith at this point.
Really,
for real, yeah. I mean,
guaranteed win ever.
Yeah. It's got to be unanimous. I mean, before probably the first 11 weeks of the year, you could have considered Big Ben, but no. I mean, once Alex Smith came back and they won a division, Mike's right. Name the award.
Mm-hmm. I agree. They should. They really should name the award. I agree.
Yeah, Alex Smith,
it's like his leg was shattered glass and somehow it came back to life. And I read a little bit about his rehab procedures and stuff like that, and when he was actually beginning to kind of walk back and then start like increasing his physical therapy and occupational therapy and stuff like that. I mean, he dedicated a lot of work just to even get back to normalcy, not even to where being on the football field even mattered, but he was striving towards that. So
yeah, I kind of like that. You have the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and now you have the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year award. I
like it as well. Yeah.
I think they should definitely name it after him. I agree.
So, Spike, I promised you I would give you praise at the beginning of the season if you got this one right, so I'll let you talk about it. The Steelers winning this division that everybody thought was going to be dominated by the Ravens, starting 11-0, and then literally forgetting how to play football.
Yeah. Well, I never said that they would finish well. I just said that they would win the division. And, this is a Shrek win where they just won ugly. This is one of those where, like, I kind of saw it at the end of last year where they were playing with, like, their 7th quarterback on the roster with Mason Rudolph, and they still went 8-8, I believe.
Something like that.
And, the NFL is a league that can figure out quarterbacks, especially they've been able to figure out mobile quarterbacks not named Patrick Mahomes. So I knew that Lamar Jackson probably wasn't going to have as good of a season. It just kind of all worked out where, Big Ben coming back, playing like Big Ben should play. The Pittsburgh just looked like the team that needed to be beat in this division. And for the first 11 weeks, they couldn't be beat, literally. So... they were a fun team to watch, but I have no excuses, no idea what happened to them at the end of the season. Like, I just don't know how a team becomes that bad that quickly.
That's a good way to put it. I think, like I said, I just wanted to give you kudos for as much as we ragged on you about the NFC West prediction. We just had to give you your kudos where kudos was due. So congratulations on the Pittsburgh Steelers winning the division for Spike, who didn't bet it, by the way.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I really should have put money on that shit.
So, all right.
Fuck.
Last thing here before we dive into the Super Bowl, which is I know is what you're listening for, is I want to hand out some awards, obviously, as they're going to do Saturday night. 4 awards: MVP, Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, which we all probably are unanimous on that one, and Coach of the Year. So I'll start. I'll give my 4. I'll go to Spike. Then Toka, and then Tony Johnson to round it out here. My MVP is Aaron Rodgers. I thought he played phenomenal this year as a big fuck you to the organization and fuck you maybe low-key to Jordan Love in that spot, even though Jordan Love didn't do anything wrong. But, he was the guy who was once in this spot, 15 years ago with Brett Favre. And so that's my MVP of the year. Rookie of the Year for me was Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. Doing things only Randy Moss has done. That puts you in elite company. And I think the sky's the limit for this guy, especially if the rumors are true that they're getting rid of Kirk Cousins and maybe get somebody else who's halfway, better than Kirk Cousins. Comeback Player of the Year. Again, we've renamed it to the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year, so you obviously know who mine is. Again, tip of the cap to Big Ben for 11 weeks, but it's a 17-week season, so he's not going to get that award. And my Coach of the Year is also in Washington, Ron Rivera. I mean, everything he had to battle, the carousel at quarterback, when it wasn't Alex Smith was just, crazy. Oh, by the way, he had cancer as well, and he had to fight that through the season. So for him to win a division title, albeit in the worst division, Spike, wink, wink, it's still, I have to give tremendous praise to Ron Rivera, regardless of the division he plays in. That was incredible. After getting ousted in Carolina and doing his thing in Washington with all the setbacks, kudos to you.
Wow, we are almost an exact agreement here. MVP, I also have Aaron Rodgers. I think not only is the 48 touchdowns impressive, but I think the 5 picks to go along with it is even more impressive. So to be able to put up that kind of a ratio throughout an entire season is just absurd in this day and age, especially with as good as some of these defenses are. I also have comeback player of the year as Alex Smith for every reason you just said. Same thing with the coach, Ron Rivera. I love Riverboat Ron. I think he did a great job with Washington, so kudos to him. My rookie actually goes to that running back in Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor. I think he had such a tremendous year. I think he was such a high point for that team that I don't know how that team does as well if they don't have him in that backfield. So that's my rookie of the year right now.
For me, I mean, I mostly agree with you guys as well. I would say Aaron Rodgers, but I'm going to lean a little different from you guys for MVP, and I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. I mean, definitely carrying this team on both their shoulders as well as protecting the football as well, getting over 2,000 yards in the rushing. Very impactful player for this team and horrible letdown basically everywhere else with this team, even though making the playoffs. Coach of the year for sure, Ron Rivera. Comeback, of course, like we had to mention Alex Smith. I'm going to lean towards Herbert as rookie of the year, though. I mean, I really liked his performance. He was pretty impactful for this Chargers team, and it will be nice to see what he can accomplish in the years to come and his leadership role with that team. Yeah.
Could we all agree here, obviously foreshadowing, or not foreshadowing, but try to forecast the way that Joe Burrow played despite the lack of wins? He probably would have been rookie of the year the way he was playing.
100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the guy for the Chargers threw 31 touchdowns and 4,400 yards. I don't know. He had a pretty good year. So maybe. I'm not sure. I don't get into individual awards that much, but I guess I'll play along.
Good.
I think it's amazing a guy can run for 2,000 yards and doesn't win an MVP. It doesn't really is not going to come all that close. But I guess it took a year like Aaron Rodgers to probably do that. I've been following Aaron now really closely since he's been on the Pat McAfee show every Tuesday, which I listen to every day. And the guy is pretty amazing. And what he did to get himself back to a completely elite level quarterback and all the changes that he made with his throwing motion is really, really impressive. So yeah, I was very impressed with the season. Obviously that team only goes as far as he does. And that was a 13-win team in the regular season. So I would go with Aaron Rodgers, although I am partial, like Token said, to Derrick Henry. I mean, he's just a really likable dude. He just gets the job done, and he's a hard runner, and he's awesome. So tough to say, but I would go with Aaron Rodgers. In regards to Rookie of the Year, it's amazing because I didn't like what I saw for the first 5 or 6 weeks from Justin Herbert, but I haven't seen a rookie do it better for the entirety of the season, going all the way through. And the fact that he was able to throw the ball as well as he did and win some games down the stretch. That was a team that was out of the playoffs, in week 8, 9, 10, basically. And they won a bunch of games down the stretch, and he played incredibly well. Now with a lot of tape, seeing teams for the second time and still having great games. Very impressed with Justin Herbert. I love Jefferson. I think he's going to be great, an elite receiver as the years go on in Minnesota, but a quarterback that throws for 4,400 yards and 31 touchdowns and wins a bunch of games and plays really well down the stretch. That's who I would give it to. And, Coach of the Year is a tough one. Again, I love the story from Ron Rivera. I think it's all great, but I'm going to look at, coaching and winning a lot of games you probably shouldn't, and being dominant. And I can't give it to a guy that won 7 games. It's tough to say. I know it's impressive. You win in the division, and that's great. And they had quarterback issues, but I'm going to go with Sean McDermott, with a Buffalo team that's, obviously, and we know they're a good team, and they were good, certainly, very high quality last year, but everyone doubted them, especially down the stretch. The fact that they won that game in week 17 too, I think is just a nice cherry on the top. thought that was a fantastic win to keeping Miami out of the playoffs and really hammering their ass in the first half. I thought that was fantastic. McDermott's the guy I like. I've liked him now for a few years here, and that would be my winner there. A 13-3 regular season, and coming along with Josh Allen and how well he's developed, I think we have to give a little bit of credit to the coaching staff, and he certainly heads that department.
Yeah, there've been now 8 2,000-yard rushers. The 7 previous ones, 4 of them have won MVP: O.J. Simpson, Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis, and Adrian Peterson. Token, can you name any one of the 3 who didn't win MVP of the 2,000-yard season?
I'm not sure.
Anybody want to take a stab at it? That's an O.J. Simpson pun, by the way.
I don't know if Priest Holmes had enough. It was probably rushing and receiving, but Priest Holmes had a couple of big seasons with Kansas City, but I don't think it was rushing all. Jamal Lewis, did he get to 2,000 once?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There was Chris Johnson from Tennessee.
Oh, that's right. I should have gotten that one too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have an autographed jersey of him. Hopefully it goes up in value because he kind of flamed out after 2009. But
yes, he did.
I'll be impressed if you get the last one.
Frank Gore?
No. Let's just say that most of us on this panel weren't alive when this guy rushed for 2,000 yards.
Okay.
You were alive, Spike.
Oh, snap.
What year was it?
I think Tony was alive. 1984.
Yeah, I was alive.
Was it? No.
I was not, but
I can't remember how old you are, Tony, so I my mistake.
I'm not sure. I don't really know.
A man by the name of Eric Dickerson.
Yeah, well, I got that.
Those guys rushed for 2K and did not win the MVP. So, all right, that's going to kind of put a bow on the 2020 season that has been played to this point. We're going to take a quick commercial break, just a couple of minutes, so 12 ounce can pay some bills. We'll be back on the other side talking Superb Owl 55, because I don't know if we can say it. Even though we're not that big of a podcast, I'm still not sure we can say it. I don't want cease and desist letters from the NFL. So the big game 55 in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium. We'll be back on the other side.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
At Amazon, we're pretty good at getting things done. We're pretty good at solving problems. COVID-19 is the biggest challenge we've had to face. The challenges are what motivate us. Like flying masks to our employees around the world. We're doing everything we can to get you what you need, and doing everything we can to keep our people safe. I'm former Navy pilot Sarah Rhodes, and I'm proud to lead our Amazon Air network.
All right, and we are back with the Big Game Betting Podcast here for the big game number 55 in Tampa. Chiefs and I want to say New England Patriots, but it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. At this point, there have been lots of movement in the lines. We're going to try to do the best with the information that we have. Obviously, find the best number, find the best line, as Tony Johnson preaches as much. We give you as much information as we can. Hopefully it's the best, but obviously things change. So here we go. The current line is Chiefs -3 total. I'm going to use the Westgate, but we're going to be all over the place. The total in this one is 56. So we have a lot of up-and-coming coaches. We talked about Andy Reid and Bruce Arians, and their pedigree and their track record. But I think we got 4 guys on the second tier here. I mean, Eric Bieniemy's been all over the news, obviously, with the head coaching searches and the issues there. And he's the offensive coordinator for Kansas City. The offensive coordinator is one of the guys I like. Actually, I've had a chance to meet him just due to my family's ties with Marshall University. Byron Leftwich is one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch play. He's always a competitor. And now he's got an offensive coordinator role, and he's on the biggest stage. So, congratulations to him. And then on the defensive side, you have Todd Bowles, who things didn't work out for him in New York, which seems to be a trend with a lot of coaches. But and then versus Steve Spagnuolo, who seems to pop up everywhere and has given Tom Brady fits for the better part of a decade or more, actually more than a decade. Steve Spagnuolo, you can maybe call him Tom Brady kryptonite. He is 3-2 against Tom Brady, including one of those games in a Super Bowl. But Tony, talk about the coaches here, all four of them, what they bring to the table, the pedigree of these guys, and maybe the future of some of these guys.
Tough one. I'm surprised that we haven't seen Bieniemy go anywhere else yet. I think I expected, like a lot of people did, that with all of the coaching changes this offseason, that he would end up somewhere. And the fact that he didn't is still a little bit surprising. Again, I don't really know. I'm not sure what the reasoning is or what goes into all of this. Obviously, that's a lot of conjecture, but. Yeah, I mean, he's not exactly the play caller, out there in Kansas City. Obviously, this is Andy Reid's offense, and he certainly is, the man there. So maybe that's partly of what goes into this is, how much is Bieniemy really involved, in this offense. And again, I don't think we really know the answer to that. But certainly, I think there are some good things on the horizon for him, especially if they can, win another Super Bowl here, have another quality season next year, which, barring a Mahomes, injury, I think will be happening. There's no question that somebody will be taking a chance on Bieniemy in the next year or so, and he will have a head coaching spot, wherever he goes, and will be running an offense, for the first time himself. So, again, I don't want to, try to say, because I don't really know. It's hard to say. Guys like Spagnuolo, I think we've seen so much. We have a really good idea, of what he can scheme and what he can do. But, on the flip side, Byron Leftwich, I've not been a big fan of play calling wise. I thought, especially in Arizona, he made a lot of gross, massive mistakes as an early play caller. I think he's gotten a little bit better here. Again, I don't know how much Bruce Arians has an effect on this. I realize that Leftwich is calling the plays, but I'm sure that Bruce Arians is very involved in the game planning, and he has done a great job of that throughout his career, especially as a play call. I've been very impressed with Bruce Arians, but I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock into it. Leftwich is not a guy I've been distinctly interested in that sense. Like you, I didn't watch him all that closely from his time in Marshall and all the way through. I was never really impressed, with his style and his play as a quarterback. But we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gives him a shot at some point either, certainly. And then on the defensive side, a lot of impressive stuff. We've seen Spagnuolo improve defenses wherever he's gone, and I know what he's coached. 6-7 different places now, I think, throughout his career. Always been a guy that's gotten the most out of players, especially those middling type of guys that are in their, second, third team into their 30s. And you really see the best part of their careers seem to shine with Spagnuolo. So I think his work with Frank Clark, especially, and Frank has talked about this too over the last couple of seasons, he's really made him an elite player, an elite pass rusher, where he was a guy that, was on the fringe, and we weren't sure if we were ever going to see, great players drafted high, but, never really was able to get there. But now, really an elite pass rusher. So guys like that, I think, is really shines, and not just his record against Tom Brady and other elite quarterbacks, which is great, but Spagnuolo is a guy I'm not sure he'll get another job as a head coach. That didn't really work out all that well with the Rams, but and he's certainly an older guy now. It tends not to go to older people like this, but we'll see. So I'm not sure. I don't put an edge anywhere. I know you're trying to look for an edge maybe in this game. I really don't. I think both head coaches are very capable. And as Spike alluded to earlier, we're not going to see these Andy Reid debacles, in the middle of games and at the end, and, just brutal uses of timeouts. I know he's much more analytically driven now. He goes for it on fourth down way more often than he used to. So to me, I don't really see much of an advantage on that spot. I've just handicapped the players and the schemes and what I actually think, will be called more so than any coaching advantage. I just don't think we're going to see one in this game.
Out of these four, who do you think might get the first coaching job? I know that's a lot of speculation. But.
Yeah. I thought it would be Bieniemy, before anyway. So I guess I'll stick with him.
Okay.
But if someone takes a chance because, of a personality fit with somebody like Leftwich, Leftwich will be a head coach at some point too. Okay. I just, don't know how quickly. So,
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of talk with Bieniemy and Bowles. Yeah, Spagnuolo, I think is probably not. Especially, I mean, I don't remember exactly his record in St. Louis, but I believe he went like 1-15 and like 3-13 or something like that. It was pretty bad. And you're right. You know, the wave is to kind of go younger, and Bieniemy and Leftwich kind of fit that mold. But Todd Bowles might get another chance. You never know.
He might. That's true too. He might.
Spike, Tom Brady can accomplish the only other person who's done this is Peyton Manning, winning a Super Bowl with two different teams. I mean, there's not a lot left in Tom Brady's career that he can become the first time at, but this is a huge kind of thing, I'm sure, for Tom Brady. And what's the talk? I guess I want to get your dad's side of this. What's the talk in New England? I mean, I know that you personally have said you're rooting for Tom Brady, but I can't imagine that's the consensus in Massachusetts and the other states.
No, absolutely not. It's probably about 50-50. Half the people want Tom Brady to succeed. They figure that after 20 years of success in New England, he's kind of earned the right to go out and get paid and to go out and do things for himself rather than be, the Belichick team first kind of guys. So the other half are like my dad, and they hoped Brady would have blown out his ACL in week 1 and were disappointed every week when he walked off the field healthy. Wow. So it's a very different way of looking at this.
It's a very dark way of looking at it.
Extremely. Wow.
Yeah. Well, the idea being that if Tom Brady wanted out, he should have said something, because the fact that he did it the way he did, the Patriots were still on the hook for the salary cap ramifications of Brady for like 12 or 15 million. It was some ridiculous number. And if they had been able to, trade him or do something with him, they could have gotten out from under that. So the feeling is that Brady screwed the Patriots on his way out, and therefore they are not happy with him. So
it's crazy. We look at the Deshaun Watson. He's saying he wants out, and he's getting shit on. Tom Brady goes about it the other way, quietly exits, and he's getting shit on. You can't do it the right way, I guess. You can't get out of a team the right way, I guess.
Well, I mean, nobody's ever accuse Boston fans of being rational, so let's calm the fuck down. I'm trying to compare.
I think Philly fans accuse Boston fans of being rational.
All right, fair
Most
enough.
likely.
Yeah,
They would be more rational, yes.
yeah, we've never thrown batteries at Santa Claus that I know of. So all right, we're one up on Philadelphia.
Philly fan thinks you guys are wet blankets.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I will say I will take slight issue with what Tony was talking about just a second ago with the play calling with Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich, and I'm not entirely sure that they're doing all the play calling. I think that they're putting a lot of trust in Tom Brady to call the plays at the line. Leftwich and Arians may throw 2 or 3 plays at Brady for that particular scenario. But I think Brady is the ultimate decider on what gets run when he sees how the defense is lined up. So I think that's where Brady's experience over what Leftwich has and all that will really come into play in this game. And we should be able to see whether or not his ideas are the right ideas in this one, or if, it's just one of those things where if Kansas City gets hands in his face, that's how you screw up Brady to begin with. But no, I think for the most part, I think now that Brady is off the Patriots, I think that it's easier for fans of other teams to accept Brady winning a Super Bowl in this scenario now that he's not with Belichick, now that he's not with the evil empire, so to speak. So I think there's a lot to be said on the national stage that I think there's at least there's a desire for Brady to win it and to get there, but the only people that aren't are not the Brady haters or detractors. They are the people that want Mahomes to be the next greatest, the show that they can't stop talking about. And I think that's where that separation comes between the two quarterbacks.
All right, so we know Spike's viewpoint on Tom Brady. We know Tony's viewpoint on Patrick Mahomes. Token, you're my middleman here. So which quarterback's under more pressure on Sunday?
I would say Mahomes, just because winning back-to-back for quarterback for the first time is definitely hard to do. I mean, Brady's won multiple and a few back-to-back, so he's got less pressure on him, in my opinion. And with Mahomes' health, staying healthy in this game is going to be pressure as it is. So in my thought process, I think Mahomes has a little more difficulty, especially trying to take one from the GOAT.
Anybody have a differing opinion on who's under more pressure, Mahomes or Brady?
See it really as anything that they're not used to. I mean, these guys have both been here before. I think they're both going to play well. I don't see either one of them really getting stopped in that sense.
Well, not even not playing well, just losing this game. I mean, talk about it. You know, just a couple of, Tom Brady is always going to forever receive hate, as, many people don't think he's the GOAT. And if, Patrick Mahomes.
Care? I don't think he gives a shit.
It doesn't. We're not talking about these individual guys. I mean, they're not going to care. But I mean, after this might be the most talked about after the Super Bowl, especially if something goes wrong where, Tom Brady and or Mahomes have bad games or throw costly picks. We're going to overanalyze this. I don't know. I think Mahomes is the right answer there, Tony, or Token, but I think even if Tom Brady loses, no matter if it's by 1 point or a million points, he's going to get some scrutiny as well. I mean, look how much scrutiny he got in the game against the Packers. He threw 3 picks, although it led to no, points from turnovers. Yeah,
the talk of right now, the GOAT of now to the GOAT of the future potentially. So,
is it the question really is, all right, let me ask you this then, Tony. I know that you say that they don't care, and that's fine, but if Tom Brady beats Patrick Mahomes this Sunday, can Patrick Mahomes, in general opinion, ever reach the GOAT status?
It depends on how you define all this bullshit. I mean, you talk about this GOAT stuff. He's a better quarterback than Tom Brady. What are we even talking about?
There's a lot of better quarterbacks than Tom Brady on the field.
Right. So, what? So the GOAT status is Tom Brady was on a bunch of great fucking teams. Like, this is a ridiculous thing. It's like saying Joe Montana was this elite, incredible quarterback. No, he wasn't. He was on a lot of great, incredible teams with a coach that basically created.
Most teams that win Super Bowls are great, incredible teams.
Yes, exactly. That's why I don't care about Super Bowls in regards to how great a quarterback is. I mean, it doesn't matter to me whether Peyton Manning, however many Super Bowls he won, it doesn't make any damn bit of difference to me. He's still the second best quarterback I've ever seen. So, all
right, I went the wrong direction here. Spike, I'll ask you.
All right,
but it's just a silly argument. That doesn't talk about the actual quality of the quarterback. Break down the player. I want to break down the player and actually do that, not like teams and Super Bowls and. Quarterbacks face each other. They face a defense.
We don't do that here. We talk about we're comparing quarterbacks.
Right. I mean, this is all hyperbole and nonsense anyway.
Of course it is. I mean, nobody's wrong and everybody's right.
Right. But this is why I don't believe Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT, because I think this Chiefs team, the way it's built with Tyreek Hill, the running backs, the defense, everything else that they have going for them, especially Travis Kelce, who can make a lot of bad plays look good. I think this Chiefs team, all other things being equal, under another quarterback, probably go at worst 12-4, maybe 11-5, if things break the wrong way. The reason that I say that Brady is better is because Brady has won Super Bowls with bad teams in the past, and we have not yet seen Mahomes do that. When Mahomes has had bad teams around him, or he's had the
mediocre.
He hasn't had the talent at the skill positions around him. This team didn't advance throughout the playoffs. So what I want to see is Mahomes with like third and fourth tier receivers, second and third tier running backs, and no Travis Kelce win a Super Bowl.
That's with the Lions. Running backs. Who are these running backs we're talking about here? These aren't elite running backs.
Edwards-Helaire?
Yeah.
Edwards-Helaire is better than Antoine Smith ever was.
Put Mahomes with the Lions.
All right. Well, I guess the question really is, if Tom Brady wins 7, and that 7th is against Mahomes, I think Mahomes got to win 9.
Yeah.
I mean, the Patriots had a lot of really, really good defenses. You cannot say that these Patriots Super Bowl winning teams were mediocre teams. That's just patently false.
I don't think they were mediocre, but I think they were more average than there were more average players on those teams than there were on this offense right now.
Average players maybe in the skill set of like a wide receiver, whatever, guys that you're used to seeing, but not on the two lines. Those O lines and D lines were elite. The great majority of the New England run. Well, that's important.
It was either the Super Bowl against I forget if it was against the Falcons or against the Seahawks, but one of those two defenses for the Patriots ranked dead last in total defense in the NFL.
Okay. That's fine, but
I think it was the
in the red zone. I mean, yeah, that's the year where they gave up all these yards between the 20s, if I remember correctly. Yeah, but they got stops in the red zone. They didn't in that game until the second half. But
yeah, I think they were like total yards, one of the worst, but like scoring defense, I think they were like middle of the pack. I think you're right. But again, like you said, no one's wrong. You know, I like to just jazz Tony a little bit about the greatest quarterback he's ever seen comparison. But I mean,
I got trolled a little bit.
He's phenomenal to play. Hey, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think the jury's still out on the greatest of all time. But we'll see. That's why we have these fun guys. I mean, could you imagine if we were a basketball podcast? I feel like that'd be our only topic: Jordan and LeBron. So,
Bill Russell,
just because he won 11.
Scottie Pippen.
None of us were alive to watch that guy.
No tipping Scottie Pippen. There you go.
So all right,
Tippin' Pippin, nice.
The key matchups I look for in this, and you guys can talk about them here. You just talked about it. The beat up Kansas City O-line versus a defensive line in Tampa that's been playing lights out. Tony missing Mitchell Schwartz, and now Eric Fisher went down in the AFC Championship game. I know that Patrick Mahomes can scramble, but this defensive line is going to be maybe giving him fits. Or what do you think about this patchwork Chiefs O-line?
Yeah, it's the biggest thing that's happened, I think, from the last game and coming into this one is the loss of Fisher is enormous, and it hasn't been talked about that much. Obviously, I think when Schwartz went down, what was that, week 11 or 12? We already knew he was an elite tackle, and he has been since he's basically come into the league. But they were sort of able to get past that, and get over it. They moved some guys around, and it worked out. They were still able to win some games. They didn't look as an elite offense as they were early in the season, but now with both of these guys out facing this great of a D line, that's a problem. That's the biggest issue if you're trying to back Kansas City, and I can make great arguments for both sides in this game, which is I think what makes it a great game. But that's the biggest argument you make, I think, against Kansas City is how well will the Tampa Bay defensive line neutralize and make Mahomes move and make him uncomfortable in the pocket because he's not a superhuman. He's not Superman. He can't overcome a big pass rush. He will get knocked down. He will throw bad passes, and it's anybody would. It's a great point. It's the biggest point that I make in all of these discussions that I've had now over these previous 2 weeks is what can we expect? Well, we don't know. They're now going to move 3 guys from what I understand. So a couple of guards are going to interchange at left tackle, and I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. So it's a great question. I wish I had a better answer. I just don't know.
No, I think you kind of nailed it. I mean, can Kansas City rebound from this? I think if they do, if they can make this work, then I think they have a huge leg up on offense. But if they can't, you're right. This defense in Tampa might be causing some problems. The other one I want to talk about, speaking of Tampa defense token here, is the receivers. All the receivers, tight ends, et cetera, for Kansas City versus this Tampa Bay secondary. We know what Tyreek Hill did in the regular season against this Tampa Bay defense, 270 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he had most of that by the end of the first half. It's easier said than done, but, how does Tampa Bay's secondary and their defense find a way to, I guess the word would be contain, Tyreek Hill and company?
I think if the defensive line of Tampa is able to attack Mahomes and get hands on his face and all that, Mahomes has got to get rid of the ball faster, and you could see Tampa kind of with the secondary kind of stepping back a little to keep up with these wide receivers, especially Hill and all that. I mean, if they start like a little more in the back and try and find out what route he's actually trying to be on and double cover him in certain situations like thirds and fives to thirds and tens and all that, then it'll just make life difficult for this Kansas City offense to try and convert.
Yeah, and I think the kickers might be bigger in this game than a lot of people are thinking. I think kicking Harrison Butker hasn't been as automatic as he has been in previous seasons. I think, and one of my favorite kickers, Ryan Suckup, has been pretty, has been not as good as he has been in previous seasons as well. Although he's getting a lot older now. So, all right, on to the bets here, boys and girls. I know that's what you've been tuning in and listening to. So I just want to throw out a couple of different things here before we get into our bets. Please gamble responsibly because I'm about to hit you with some crazy-ass bets that have been going around, been putting in over the last week here. I want to throw out some trends here, some Super Bowl trends. Favorites, 35-19 straight up, 27-25-2 against the spread in Super Bowl history. The over-under is 26-26-1. There was no actual listed total in Super Bowl I. So we have basically a dead even for the over-under. The coin toss, those of you who want to bet that for some reason, is 25 heads, 29 tails. So choose wisely, I guess.
They have a record of what it lands on.
Yes.
Wow.
That's pretty funny.
The craziest stat I found, the most common margin of victory, and maybe it's not that crazy to a sports bettor, the most common margin of victory in the 2021 season was 3 points, which is exactly what we have. 41 games closed at 3 this year on the line, including postseasons. Favorites 25-16 straight up and 20-21 against the spread. Super Bowl history, 7 Super Bowls have closed at -3. The favorites were 4-3 straight up and 4-3 against the spread. And then if you want to get real in-depth, I got this one from ESPN. In the last 1,569 games that have closed at -3 in NFL history, the favorites are 58% straight up and 48% against the spread.
Wow.
That's going back. So kudos to ESPN on that stat right there.
Nice.
So here are the biggest bets that have gone around in the week. I know that you will be putting in some of these as well. We'll hit no, we won't. But our boy Mattress Mac is back again. If you remember, he dumped a lot of money on the Astros.
The Astros, yeah.
He just bet $3.5 million on the Buccaneers money line at the airport in Colorado Springs. He landed, got on his mobile app, and bet $3.5 million on DraftKings. So, being a person who might be on a few bucks things here, I hate the fact that I heard that. BetMGM has taken a $205,000 bet on the under 56.5. And they also took a $2.3 million bet from an unknown person who wants to remain anonymous on the Bucks at +3.5. Now, William Hill, I found a few here. $520K on the Chiefs -3 at -120. Another $100K on the Chiefs money line at -165. Another $150K on the Chiefs -3 at -120. $98,000 bet on the Chiefs money line at -165. They have a $3,000 bet on Mahomes to get exactly 0 passing touchdowns.
Ooh, wow.
And they have a $1,000 bet on Brady to get 6 or more passing touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah. So these next couple of wagers, they're not huge, but they were kind of interesting to see. So William Hill has taken $23,265 wagered on the Tyreek Hill receptions prop. It's moved from 86 to 92.5. $23,200 of that, so $65 left over, has been on the over, which has been pushing it up. They are super liable on the Tyreek over receptions.
They opened very low compared to their. I'll just jump in here quickly. Most places opened around 90 because that was one of the ones I was looking at very closely, and they opened at 86. It might have been 87 in Nevada. I'm not sure which William Hill. There's a few different ones, but they opened really low. I don't know why or what the reasoning was, but my numbers were a little bit higher, around the low 90s. I still didn't bet it. I didn't bet a lot of these things. We'll get into that later, but yeah, it was a pretty amazing open. I was shocked to see that too on Thursday.
And there's another bettor at William Hill who likes Sammy Watkins. He's got $6,666 on him for the first Kansas City touchdown at 15-1.
Wow.
He's got $4,000 on the first TD of the game for Sammy Watkins at 25-1.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got $1,000 on Sammy Watkins to be the MVP at 200-1.
Might as well go for it, right? Yeah.
Better not make a tattoo bet with him.
About $500,000 for if all those come in.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I thought you meant like $500,000 wager. I'm like, no, you got about $11K.
Wait, how many TDs is Watkins going to have to score for it not to go to Mahomes is the real question. That's tough. Wow.
What did Julian Edelman do that year he won it?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Didn't he have like 160 and 2 touchdowns, I think?
Or
Sounds right.
or if Mahomes gets hurt about halfway through the
Oh,
game.
you're right. You're right. Yes, and he still gets balls thrown as well. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point, Toby.
All right, FanDuel, 50,000 on the Bucks money line plus 145. 5K bet on heads at minus 102. And one bettor in New Jersey placed wagers on exact final scores. 500 on Tampa Bay 34, Kansas City 17 at 135 to 1.
Ooh.
500 on Kansas City 34 and Tampa Bay 17 at 175 to 1.
Wow.
So there's your big bets that I could snuff out of the media here, following guys like Todd Dewey, who works for the Review Journal, and I just want to give him a shout out because he sent me a lot of those, a lot of the big bets that are going on. But hopefully, if you're listening to this podcast and you're looking to lay down a big bet, we can get you a winner here too as well. Like I said before, we've got 5 books that we've looked at all the different lines on. I'm going to generally be staying around the Superbook here, but I know that you guys have got some bets from all over. We have South Point, we have Circa, we have the Westgate Superbook that we talked about, we have Stations, and we have William Hill. We have South Point, Kansas City 3.5, total 57.5. Circa, Kansas City 3, total 56. Superbook, Kansas City 3, total 56. Stations, Kansas City 3.5, total 56.5. And William Hill, Kansas City 3 at total 56. So we've got a lot going on here. Like I said, there's just so much sensory overload with the amount of props. It's become, like we've talked about it, Christmas in February, the Bible. We've said a lot of, we've called this a lot of things. Nevertheless, we're going to get as much information out as we can at this point. And we're going to start with the regular line here. How are we feeling?
Good.
The line's about where I expected it to be. I didn't think it was going to be too huge. I knew Kansas City was going to be the favorite going into this. I figured somewhere between 2.5 to 3.5. One of those would be the opening line. And did it open at 3.5 or did it open at 3?
It opened at 3.5 most places and very quickly went to 3 at a lot of places. I'm actually shocked to see some places still holding 3.5.
Yeah, that does seem strange, but I mean, this line can't be that much of a surprise just based on the way these teams have played, especially what we've seen lately. And then no matter how much of a nod that you want to give to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, I just, it goes back to what I've been saying all playoffs. I don't know how you bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl. So I think this is that's kind of what's shaping the line a little bit more than anything else. It's just that marquee quarterback matchup is really what's keeping it in place.
Tony, do you disagree? Do you think the line should be more? Do you think the line should be less? I mean, look at the previous game they played. I mean, it was 27-24. The game landed right on 3, as we talked about before.
Sure. That was much more one-sided, though. That score was not indicative of the game. Kansas City gave up 2 touchdowns relatively late to Tampa. So that probably should have not been a 3-pointer. But, yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and just speak on this just because I've only made 3 previous wagers on Super Bowl sides in my life betting, and this is number 4. And it just happened to be because I bet this thing before the championship games last week. I saw they were both at 2.5, Kansas City versus Green Bay and Kansas City versus Tampa. So I took both of them at minus 2.5 for Kansas City. So it felt good about that originally. And then after we knew that Eric Fisher was definitely going to be out for this game and for the near future, going into the early part of next season, I didn't like my spot as much anymore. So I decided to play. Hopefully we can get that 3 train again. I decided to lay it all completely off. So I'm halfway on each side. I did get 3.5 at minus 115, so I wasn't even able to get 110, but and that was again last week. So I know those numbers are gone now. But yeah, I think the number's about right. I'm really worried about this line, this offensive line for Kansas City. Again, I think this is the better team. I don't think there's much doubt about that. But who knows? If you can't protect the quarterback, and you have an offense as good on the other side against you, that can certainly score points. And Kansas City does not have this great elite defense. I just think this thing could go either way. So I'm on both sides, and if it lands on 3, it'll be fantastic. And that's where we'll be.
All right. Anybody have thoughts about the total? I mean, we're a podcast of people who don't love totals in the mid to high 50s here. So, you talk about the offensive line issues. You look at look at the previous score, even if it was one-sided in each half. And we got a big number here, guys. I mean, Spike, 57.5 is the highest one I see, but 56 is the lowest. I mean, we talked about, a Kansas City team that can score at will, but it sometimes, even in the previous Tampa game, lets teams just kind of be back in there. That's dangerous for an under-better. But at the same time, both these teams probably could score at will, if the defenses are having an off night.
Yeah, the line is bigger than what I expected. That's what she said. So this is one of those spots where you really have to try to figure out how you think the game's going to go. And Aaron, I think you just nailed it exactly on the head. Is that are the defenses going to have an off night? Are there enough injuries? Are these teams well coached enough, well versed enough in what the other defense can do, that they can score at will? My father actually believes that Kansas City, and I don't know if there's a prop bet for this, but he believes that Kansas City will score every time they have the ball. He is convinced that every time Kansas City is on offense, they will put points on the board.
Your dad hates Tom Brady, and it's going to cost them money.
Well, he doesn't bet, so
I'd love to take that. I'll book his bet.
Oh, there you go.
I'll book his bet. What would you think Kansas City every time they have the ball? What's that, plus 250, 300? That's a lot. That's got to be high.
Higher. That's got to be higher, I think.
Higher, yeah.
So you think about 8-9 possessions. I mean, that's
Yeah, tell your dad his $5.55 bet is mine.
All right, there we go. I'll let him know. So, yeah, I think you just have to figure it out. And if you do think that Kansas City's going to score a bunch because they've been able to score a bunch in the past, so why wouldn't they be able to do that now? And then, Tom Brady's Tom Brady, Tampa Bay's still Tampa Bay, and they're going up against, a well-coached and good, but certainly not flashy or superstar-esque Kansas City defense. So you kind of have to figure that that's maybe the way it's going to go. And if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. So, you have to look at you have to look at that spot at the over. And then you kind of have to figure out, is this one of those games where you want to look at Kansas City minus the 3 plus the over if you think it's going to go that way, and how you could parlay these. And I think that's probably where you get a little more of your money back at that point, is when you can figure out how you think this game runs, how you think these teams can operate against each other, then get them both and get them parlayed, because that's what I've been saying for this entire season.
It's fair, yeah. Especially since we're going to have I think we're going to have some fans. I think they're going to say that. I think it was like 12,000 fans in the stadium too. So it's going to be an interesting take on who they're rooting for too, because it's not going to be corporate stuff either. I think it's going to be a lot of the fans. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of first responders and frontline nurses and all that too, isn't it?
There's that too. Yeah, I think there was
3,000 at least.
Yeah, there was a lottery for those. I have a friend who's a nurse, and she was posting a Facebook video about being in the lottery. I don't know if she got a Super Bowl ticket, but a lot of things I know, or a lot of times I know we like to alter things. I know I'm a teaser guy. Tony's the alternate spread guy. So we're going to look at these. I already have, full disclosure, a teaser in on William Hill. I did it right after the Tampa Bay game, or right after the Kansas City game. It did open at 3.5 on William Hill. So I took a teaser, 10.5 for Tampa and under 63.5. So that's one of the bets. I will just put that out right now that I am on. I also do have some alternate spreads and totals that I'll be on here, but if you guys are on some alternate point spreads, alternate totals, I'd like to hear them.
I am on Tampa Bay minus 7.5 at plus 375.
That's the one I considered. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love the value on that. I think Tampa Bay, if they do win pretty handily, they will win this game by 2 scores.
So let me ask you this, because I will say this. I'm on Bucks minus 3.5 at plus 230. If you're a guy who's on minus 7.5, anybody can answer this, not just Token who's on it. would you consider doubling down? Because what happens if they do win by 7? At least you can get 1 there, right?
I agree. And yes, I have put some on that, but not nearly as much as the -7.5. So,
Anybody think of a Buccaneer blowout, 14.5, 700? No?
I think that's a
that's a tough one.
little too risky for the biscuit.
I got to say, I think that's the only outcome I really can't see. But I've said that before and been wrong. I just think the Buccaneer blowout is the only outcome I really can't see. And by blowout, I mean 14, over 14
scores.
points. Yeah, 3 scores. So an alternate total that I'm on as well is I'm on the under 49.5. Now, I was on this same under Chiefs versus 49ers last year, and I was looking phenomenal.
That had a good chance, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking phenomenal until about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Thanks, Kyle Shanahan. But I am on the under 49.5 at plus 225.
I like that, and I kind of like the under 42.5 at plus 425. I definitely feel more confident in under 49.5, though.
Yeah, 42 is a tough one. I mean, I think both of these teams can get into the 20s, and I think that almost makes it dead meat. But, like you said,
sprinkle a little, yeah.
Yeah, sprinkle a little, especially if you like that one, sprinkle a little on both and see if you can, double dip there in that spot. So anybody else on the alternate totals?
I got nothing. I'm very, very light action, comparatively speaking, to most Super Bowls for me, and that goes along with alternate lines. It's a game I don't think there's as much value as nearly in the past, just because all of this crazy big offense and big numbers, and I don't see it not happening. No, it's just one of those things that I had so much action on the New England, Rams, LA Rams Super Bowl, just because there was all this expected big offensive blowout, and I really didn't think it was going to happen. So it worked out perfectly, but this is not that exact. I mean, this is kind of the opposite. I'm not saying that it can't be a 45-point game, 42-point game like you guys are saying. No, it certainly can be, but I think the more likelihood is that we are into the 50s, mid to high 50s. So it's just there's not as much value, in my opinion, at least in these spots this year.
And the last thing I got is a quarter bet. I got the first quarter under 10. I know that Patrick Mahomes only has 1 game under his belt, but that was a slow start for them. Yep. And we know Tom Brady's, Super Bowl track record of getting out to slow starts, kind of feeling the game out. So at even money, I will take the under 10 in the first quarter wagering there as well.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely.
So, all right, well, let's move into the we talked about quarter and half bets. Is the first touchdown props. I know that's a fun one that everybody likes to bet, including the guy we just talked about who has lots of money on Sammy Watkins, 4K for the first TD of the game as well. I've got 3 here at the Westgate that I have first touchdown props for the game. The first one I have is Mike Evans at 12-1. And then I have Pat Mahomes with a rushing touchdown at 16-1. And Mecole Hardman at 18-1 to get the first touchdown prop of the game. Who else has got some touchdown props here?
None for me, but I do like the Hardman out of the 3 that you mentioned.
I have 1. I have Gronkowski at 18. And I'm a little bit worried about volume and usage, obviously. But again, so many receptions come in the red zone when they have come. Certainly it wasn't in the last game that wasn't seen, but that is my spot there at 18-1. I'll admit I did consider a spot in Kansas City with Demarcus Robinson, who was 34 at circa, which I just think is a little high, but they're just playing a game of trying to figure out a guy that's going to have 1 or 2 receptions probably at most in the game. And, and while that's likely for Gronk too, there's also, I think, almost a more equal scenario where it becomes 3 or 4, just because this is a very different type of game.
When he gets the red zone targets too.
Yeah, so that's my only one was Gronk at 18, and I think the numbers come down a little bit, so I feel good about at least the number that I have. But we'll see.
Yeah, I haven't really been looking at those first TD of the games one. I think of the ones that you all have mentioned. I like the Gronkowski one the most, just because of what you just said. That his receptions, especially lately, are all down the field or in the red zone, and it really just makes sense for Gronkowski in that spot. But I mean, who knows? Who absolutely knows what we're going to see in this game?
Well, nobody does. But you look at like Devontae Adams this year. He probably made anybody who tailed him made a lot of money.
You sure
I think
did. That's true.
I think in 17 weeks he had 10 first touchdowns. It's crazy.
Yeah, and not to get ahead too much, but I'm sure since Tony likes that one, he probably likes the Gronkowski scoring a touchdown.
I
did not actually bet that one, but
okay,
that would be the side I would bet. Of course, I would bet the yes if I had to.
Yeah, okay.
But I do have another Gronk bet, which we will get to later on.
Well, I have the Gronk anytime TD. I'll foreshadow that one. I have that in some more. We have more props to go over later, but I do have a Gronk anytime TD at 4-1 there, so I will.
Oh wow, you got great value.
Double divulge that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these have moved. Like I said, what we have is information. It moves a lot, so. You can find it. You always play that game. It's like a stock market. You wait, see if it goes higher. If not, maybe we'll see. So, all right.
Yes.
Miscellaneous props. I define these miscellaneous props as props that don't involve an individual player for either team, but could involve both teams or each team. I'll go over mine. This one I bet every year, and it actually comes to fruition a lot. I'm glad to see it's not usually it's not usually plus money. But no score in the first 6.5 minutes, no at plus 140. Usually that's actually minus money with most teams. Mm-hmm. But you see these teams, they can definitely score. This prop could be over after the kickoff. So a couple of these other bets, the first score will be. Now, I tried this in the NFC Championship game, and I was wrong. But not a touchdown, anything other than a touchdown at plus 180. I went ahead and jumped on that. Both teams make field goals 33 yards or longer. I think field goal kickers will be important in this game, so I said yes. I said both field goal kickers would kick 33 or longer yard field goals at minus 110. The largest lead by either team under 14.5 points. I took that at minus 110. And will the game be tied after 0-0? I also said yes at minus 110.
Probably my most favorite bet of this Super Bowl 55. We got over 2.5 different players having a pass attempt in this one, and it is plus money in this spot at plus 130.
Who throws a pass? Hill? Who even throws on these teams other than the quarterbacks?
I could see Harmon making a pass attempt. I could also see Mahomes potentially having an injury and backup come in and have a pass attempt. And
I love how Mahomes is the guy getting injured, not the 43-year-old quarterback.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Token is obsessed with the idea of Mahomes getting hurt in this game. So
I'm not going to count it out.
Yeah.
So. And then another one I really liked is 4 unanswered scores in the game, no at minus 130. And then the 3, it was, I think, minus 200 for 3 unanswered scores.
Gotcha.
There's just not a lot. I usually, this is kind of where the bread and butter would be, at least a little bit for me. It's where I've been involved a lot with spots like this. I just feel like knowing these two teams and seeing them now for 17, 18 games, you really get a good idea. But, there really wasn't a whole lot that I found outside of some of the players. The only thing that I bet one of these so far. I'm actually waiting for a little bit of line movement. We'll see as things come into Friday or Saturday. But I have the longest touchdown of the game. I bet that under. It was 47.5. I do have that under. I don't know where that stands now, but
46.5.
Okay, so that's the only one. Again, this one is one of those kind of long-term ones that you said, Aaron, is kind of ones that you tend to bet year after year. I have bet this one under, not every year. I wish I had, but this has come in, whatever the number's been, usually it's somewhere in the 40s. It's hit 8 out of the last 10 Super Bowls, and certainly in some of the championship games if you're on a book that has those as well. There are sometimes bigger plays than that, but for a touchdown, it's actually not all as common as people think. And people, I think, see this Kansas City team as all of these massive, long drives, big touchdowns. You actually look at it, Kansas City only has 6 touchdowns over 50 yards this year. And again, that's in 18 games. So yes, it does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's actually not as common as I think people believe. We just see it all in SportsCenter and all these plays, over and over again. Just assume that it happens so much. So that's surprisingly my only bet outside of any of the players involved.
It's okay. Finding good picks is sometimes better than finding a lot of picks.
I also do like the over shortest touchdown of 1.5 yards in the game at plus 150.
Yeah, we'd usually have some action on that. I know over the years when we've had these podcasts, yes, somebody usually has that one too, that 1.5.
Well,
Yeah,
now we got it again.
That screwed me in the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl because the only I had the under in that one. I figured it would be a
don't remind Tony
1-yarder.
of that one.
Yeah.
Oh, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Actually, I'm with Tony where I only have one of these plays this year. I'm pretty light on these kinds of bets in this Super Bowl, but the one that I have, and I don't know if the line is moved, but it's the first penalty of the Super Bowl
Nice.
will be committed by either the Chiefs or the Buccaneers. I have the Buccaneers at even money. I think with the Chiefs being here last year, they're probably, the less of the nerves, less of the anxiety and all that. You don't see those false starts or anything else coming from Kansas City. I think you are likely to see something like that coming out of Tampa Bay. And I think that right there is where you can find a pretty decent bit of value, especially if it stays at even money right now, which, again, I don't know if somebody wants to look it up and see what the actual line is now. I can't imagine they've gotten a ton of action on it to move it, but I think that the wrong team is the favorite in this one.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, you figure with a revamped offensive line, there may be a false start penalty if Kansas City gets the ball first. So that might be their thought process.
Potentially.
So,
We'll
all right, let's get into these individual team props. So I'll start with the Chiefs here, and I'll give you what I have, and then I'll go around the horn here. I have Mahomes touchdown passes under 2 at plus 175. I decided to go with the under 2 and get the push instead of the 1.5. It just seemed like I'd rather take that extra value, even if it's giving away a couple of pennies there. Cedric Clyde Edwards-Helaire over 18.5 reception yards at minus 110. I am going to jump on the bandwagon and give them some of my money. I'm going Hill under 92.5 reception yards at minus 110 as well. I am going to go Byron Pringle, first reception under 6.5 yards, because no catches also counts in that. I don't think he'll get any. And if he does, God bless him.
Yeah. And also, Akash, make sure you pay attention to some places count no catches as under, and some places no catch is a refund. So
Great point.
Well,
make sure what you're betting on.
That's true.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah, sometimes they got to actually be playing too. Sometimes it's play for action. They act like if he doesn't play a play, I think they
most places play for action, and no catch is under.
Well, I got this one as no catch under. I have also at minus 110. I have Mecole Hardman over 24 reception yards, and I have a Hardman anytime TD prop at plus 450.
Okay.
Let's hear your Chiefs props here, guys.
I'll kind of follow your lead on Mahomes with the under touchdowns. I like the under 2.5 at minus 110, and I sprinkle a little on the under at 2 at plus 175. And then we got that's the only Chiefs one for me. So.
Well, this is interesting because this is my only this is my biggest bet by far. I've got very limited action comparably speaking, but I'll get to that one. I have 2 for the Chiefs. The first one is actually, unfortunately, right up against yours, Aaron. I have Hardman no touchdown. All of this love has been pouring in on Hardman, so I'm just going to go ahead and play the other side here. I've waited until now. I said Kingdom Come last week, but Kingdom has happened. So minus 360 currently at the Westgate. So I did bet that one yesterday for the no on Hardman. We'll see. I think Demarcus Robinson actually gets a little bit more involved here. My guess is that, whether Pringle gets a reception, whether Robinson gets a reception, Watkins is now healthy. I just think we're going to have much more of a ball spread situation. So I'm hoping that it's 1 or 2 receptions max for Hardman, and I'll go ahead and roll the dice with that one.
I think you also get the returns too.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I guess that's certainly possible. You're right. And my biggest bet, My favorite one of the entire week is I was waiting for this one when it opened. I hit it immediately within minutes, and that's Mahomes rushing yards. I was all ready for this one. So he opened like at 24 in the AFC Championship, ended up closing around 17 to 19, depending on where you were. He only had 5 rushes for 5 yards. There's this thought. I mean, Token's not the only guy out there that does not believe in Mahomes being necessarily healthy or ready to go. What I think is sort of not necessarily the opposite in that regard. I think the toe is fine. He's actually talked about that. He's practicing in full. He's moving around. He looked fine in the previous game. Concussions are concussions. They are what they are. But what I like a lot in this sense is I think the pocket is going to break down a lot. Not necessarily in the fact of that we're going to have called running plays, although I do think there will be some called RPOs, no question, because of the whole pocket and being able to get rid of the ball quickly. But I just think there's a lot of chances of him scrambling much more so than he would normally be. So I actually think he'll have quite a few rushes in this game, and just with the amount of volume, he'll get there. So I got it at the opening number at 19.5 over for Mahomes. I know he's somewhere in the low to mid-20s now. I actually still think there's probably value there, no question about it. My guess is in the 30 to 40 range when this game is over. So that is my favorite bet by far of this entire Super Bowl, is over 19.5 rushing yards from Mahomes.
Wow.
I've got a handful of these. First being, will Mahomes throw an interception? And I think this is another spot where the books have the wrong number or the wrong side as the favorite.
Wow.
Yes is sitting at plus 155, and I think with his scrambling, with his trying to get out of the pocket, with him trying to do too much, I think we are bound to see a mistake where he throws the ball away and Tampa Bay is able to intercept it. So getting the yes at the plus 155, yes at plus money is just ridiculous to me. So that was one that I hammered. And then I took first reception by Tyreek Hill at 11.5. First reception by Travis Kelce at 10.5. First reception by Sammy Watkins, 10.5. I took over on all 3 of those. I think I don't necessarily know that all of them are going to come in, but if all of them get a catch in the first quarter, I think all of them come in. I think the Kansas City offense is one that needs to be adjusted to. So I think that giving up big plays early is certainly in the cards for this Tampa Bay defense. I think Kansas City can break one out or break 1 or 2 plays out pretty quickly, and then it'll take either a sideline or halftime adjustment before they can really contain and keep those plays to single digits throughout the play. So I think those first receptions by those players going over those yards is pretty easy.
Yeah, I think you're probably good for two of the 3 of those.
I like it. Yeah.
So all right, let's move into the Bucks props here. I've got about 8 of them here. So yeah. So I'll just rattle them off and I'll let the rest of the field here. Brady touchdown passes under 2 at plus 125. I have Scotty Miller over 20.5 reception yards. I know,
Wow.
the reception in the NFC Championship game, and I still think that, like you said, you can't cover everybody, and both these offenses have weapons galore. I think Scotty gets somewhere in the 30 to 40 range. We talked about it, Gronk anytime TD at 4-1. This one I'm kind of taking a flyer with. I don't love the value I got, but I'm going to have some fun with it. Mike Evans, touchdown in both halves, plus 650. So one in the first half, 1 in the second half. A guy considered here for MVP, Levante David, over 7.5 solo plus assisted tackles at plus 110. He has done this 11 times in 2020, and 3 of the games he didn't do it, he didn't play a full game. So if he plays a full game, I think Levante David, one of the better middle linebackers in the game, should get over 7.5 solo plus assisted tackles. Now here are my lottery tickets for the Bucks. And I'm going to piggyback on your throwing an interception there, Mr. Spike.
All right.
I have Carlton Davis or Sean Murphy Bunting to have an interception, yes, at plus 600 each player. And I also have Antoine Winfield to intercept a pass, yes, at plus 800. So I figure if Mahomes throws one, I got 3 guys in the vicinity to make some money here on this one. I'm hoping it's Antoine Winfield because obviously he has. Or if Mahomes throws 3, I hope they all 3 catch one. I don't think Mahomes is throwing 3, but if he throws 3, let's hope it's Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Antoine Winfield with a pick each.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, I'll move into mine. Over at Circa, I liked Godwin at over 5.5 receptions at -125. I think he gets about the 7 to 9 range. Probably more shorter ones, but he could also open up a little yards after catch for sure. And then my big one, especially on the Tampa Bay one, is Ndamukong Suh with a sack at +145, and a half of a sack counts. And this was at Circa.
Ooh,
Nice. Very nice.
With the half of the count, with a half of the sack counting as well. That's really juicy.
Wow.
That's a hell of a
number,
bet.
Token.
Yeah, I didn't
Wow.
see that.
Yeah,
I didn't either. I think that's moved quite a bit because I was just on some.
it's bet 74.25. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
Wow.
Very nice. That's it?
You have no Bucks
Yep,
props?
that's it for me.
Okay.
Oh, okay. No, I have. I just have a couple. Again, I focused a little bit more on just kind of laying it down on Mahomes. I really think that's the best one out of everything. But I pulled a spike here in this sense that I put a group of guys together for this first type of stuff and just went after it. So just with the rushing attempts. So first rushing attempt for Fournette, first rushing attempt for Ronald Jones. Both of them 3.5, both of them +110. I on them both over. I think they're going to be. We expect both teams to move the ball. Certainly Tampa Bay in that group, and I like the running against Kansas City. That's if anybody can do anything, that is how this team has been beaten this season. You've been able to run the ball up the middle. So both of them. Certainly, I think that Fournette will get the majority of the carries, and he will be probably the main back, if you will, in this game. But Ronald Jones will get his share of touches, and on that first one. I'm ready to go. So I like both of those over. And then I also bet the Gronk first reception over 9.5 receiving yards. I wasn't as interested in his overall yards here in that, high 20s, low 30s, depending on where you look. To me, I felt like I was trying to find the longest reception or, his first one, works too. And this one was the spot here at 9.5. So added on piggyback to that, I do have his first reception as well. That one was over 12.5. I believe Circa as well. They're now up to 13.5. Yes, that looks like it. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I did. Nothing really spectacular, no crazy amount of, yards, no anti-touchdown type of stuff. I think a lot of these different guys can score touchdowns on this game. So usually I'm hardcore on the nose with guys not scoring touchdowns. Usually have 5 or 6 guys. Didn't really touch it except for Hardman. That's the only one this week. I think there'll be quite a few touchdowns back and forth.
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing here with the what's his name? First reception by Evans at 10.5, first reception by Godwin at 10.5, first reception by Brown at 9.5. Again, went over on all of these. Much the same reasoning. I think that this is the defenses are going to have to feel out these offenses to make sure that they're attuned the right way, so to speak. So I think that we can see a lot of these kinds of big plays early, and I think those get in. The only other one I have is first pass by Tom Brady, incomplete, was sitting at +175, which I don't necessarily know that I agree that his first pass is going to be incomplete, but that number was just too much for me to pass up, so I decided to go for it. And sprinkled a little bit on there, so we'll see.
Yeah, right on. I think that's a good bet, even if you don't believe it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely
the value is there.
Wow, impressive.
All right, so I'm going to call these comparison props. Is the way I have one, actually technically 2, but it involves one of the same players here. Basically, it's comparing players from both sides of the team, Bucks versus Chiefs, and so what? So I'm going to go with Evans to score before Kelsey at plus 190 and to score before Hill at plus 170. Those are the two I have for comparison props.
And I assume it's refunded if neither one of them score.
You know what? It doesn't even say. Let's see. Player must play, and yeah, it would be if neither of them score, it would be a push.
There you go.
There would be a refund. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't have anything in the comparison realm. I don't know if we're waiting on me, but I have nothing in that sense.
Nor do I.
I didn't figure it would be a big popular one, but Token's still sitting there, so I don't know.
No, unless if we're talking cross sport, but
no, we're gonna get to those right now. I've got 5 cross sport parlays.
Buddy.
Oh,
Yeah, buddy.
So these are our favorites. I know we like to talk about these. I just skipped the basketball ones, so I mean we can go by those. Mine are cross sport with hockey and golf. So I'll go ahead and read these off for you. My first one is Patrick Reed's 4th round score plus 19.5 versus Tyreek Hill's reception yards. Especially, I'm under on the 92.5, so I'm hoping if Tyreek falls somewhere in like the 60s or 70s range, I feel golden on this one. So got that at minus 110. Mike Evans reception yards plus 16. Oh, I forgot this is a college basketball one. Mike Evans reception yards plus 16.5 versus Iowa points versus Indiana. Now, Iowa averages 88 points a game, which is high, but they've also played Indy this year and scored 69. Indiana, I looked, their defensive average is 69.xx. I don't remember what it was. 69 points on average giving up during the season. So I'm going to take, hopefully, Mike Evans gets in that 50 to 60 range, and I feel like I got a shot there. So, Flyers goals minus a half against the Capitals versus Brady touchdown passes. I think the Flyers, if they can get at least 3 goals, I feel like I'm in a shot here. And if they only get 2, then maybe Brady won't throw very many. I have Fournette's touchdowns at a pick'em plus 140. This one I'm least confident in, but I think if Fournette can get 2 touchdowns, I feel like I might have a shot. Fournette touchdowns pick'em plus 140 versus Cale Makar points versus the Blues. And my long-term bet that I'll have to wait to cash is Avalanche playoff victories versus Harrison Butker points minus 1.5. So I'm getting plus 1.5 Avalanche playoff victories. I figure they're going to get through the first round, 4 wins. Second round will probably be against either St. Louis or Vegas. I think they can get at least 3 wins there, 2-3 wins, or they can win the series if they're healthy. So you're talking 3-4 wins there. So I think Butker, if he kicks a couple field goals, even if he kicks 3 field goals, that's 9 points. Minus the 1.5 is 10.5. So I think the Avalanche, fully healthy, can get that win right there. I just have to wait a few months to cash that.
Nice.
cool. I'm actually going to start out with a few basketball ones. I'm going to take Kawhi Leonard points minus a half at minus 120 against Chiefs first downs. Leonard's playing the Sacramento Kings on Sunday, February 7th.
If he plays.
Yeah, if he plays, and I saw value on that one. I'm going to take my second favorite college basketball team. I'm going to take Wichita State points at what will be more instead of Chiefs offensive plays as a pick 'em at minus 110 either way.
Shockers.
Yep, Wichita State Shockers almost tried out for their bowling team over there and second favorite college basketball team. So
whoa, there's an anecdote there for another podcast.
That's a big time bowling program too.
Yes, definitely one of the tops in the nation all time. So probably is the top. So I'm gonna say. Where was the next one? Nathan McKinnon points minus a half compared to Ronald Jones receptions.
I looked at that one too.
I did too, actually.
Yeah.
I'm a big hockey guy. I saw that side too.
Yeah, I really
playing a tough defense in the Blues there. It's just, I mean, I know Nathan McKinnon's
they
the best
do,
player
but I think McKinnon gets probably 2 points. So I like Ronald Jones receptions at under 1.5. So roll with that one, and then we got Coyotes goals at the Wild on Sunday, February 7th at plus 130 for Pick'em against Gronkowski's receptions. I think Coyotes get about 4 goals, and even if Gronk gets 4 receptions, it's a push at worst. So I really like that one. And then we got total fumbles lost as a pick 'em at -150 compared to Mohamed Salah's goals versus Manchester City on Sunday, February 7th. So
Ironically, I looked at that one too. Ironically.
Yep. I think there will be a couple fumbles lost at least, so I don't think Mohamed Salah gets 2 goals. So, like that one.
Nice.
Yeah, all right, I'll jump in. I only have one on the basketball side. Usually have a few more there, but it's just going to be more of Mahomes because that's where we're on here. So we have Mahomes rushing yards. We got +3.5 against Malcolm Brogdon points for Indiana. Now, the great thing about this is he's facing the Jazz, and Utah has been maybe the best team in the NBA the last 2 or 3 weeks, but certainly the best defense in that time. So, we get a standard Brogdon type of game where he's somewhere in the, low to mid 20s, and I think we'll come home there quite easily with that one. And then we go to golf. I got a couple with golf. The first one, this one is actually my favorite out of all of these, is Dustin Johnson, 4th round birdies, +0.5 against the Godwin receptions. Now, again, I'm not really anti-Godwin receptions or anything like that. Usually I like to, when I bet on something, I want it to be both sides. I like both. This one, I just, having now really studied the Saudi Arabia tournament, which is where he's playing, and all the weather that's come in, it's raining currently actually there right now. I think Saturday and Sunday is going to play really, really easy out there, and especially especially if DJ's coming back, which I think he's going to have to in this tournament. I do think there'll be a lot of birdies. Only 2 par 5s over there as well. So the lack, eagle opportunities not really there. I think it'll be a birdie fest from him. So my guess is we're going to get in that 6 to 7 range with DJ, and then getting +0.5 against Godwin. It's going to have to be a certain
MVP type performance.
Yeah, and if it happens, it happens. Again, I won't be mad per se because it's
+130.
But
and there's also him against Evans as a pick at -125.
Yes. So yeah, no, I didn't get that one, but that's an interesting one as well. So yeah, so that's where I was there. +130. And then the last one is towards the bottom on this sheet. I guess we're not working their sheet. Is Shoffley, 4th round score. Again, +9.5 with the Kansas City Chiefs rushing yards. I've been playing this one in a way sort of throughout the season, especially when Tampa's been on national TV, is nobody runs against Tampa. No one's successful doing it. About 3.4 yards a carry, less than 80 yards a game. Doesn't even really matter who's been healthy and who hasn't been, because I know there's been some injuries on the defensive line. They've just been really, really good. The only hiccup I think was New Orleans when Kamara had his way a little bit. But even so, I just don't think Kansas City is going to run all that well. We might get a 3 to 4 yard a carry type of thing, but just the lack of rushes, I think, will be the key here. So Xander's 4th round score, whatever that may be, and it certainly might be a good score. It might be a low score, but that's the side I like there. And then my other 2 are soccer related, so they have Manchester City goals, -0.5, -150. That's now up to -175, I think, which is nice. Versus the combined first quarter field goals made. I'm not sure if there will be some field goals in the first quarter field goals. I'm not as confident about. I just think that both of these teams are going to go for it on 4th down, maybe more than we're accustomed to seeing on a game like this. Both coaches are aggressive with their offenses, as they should be in these spots. So I think the lack of field goals just attempted in general will be there. So hopefully that goes into the first quarter as well. And Man City's a goal-scoring machine. Yeah, it's a tough matchup against Liverpool, another pretty good defense, but this team has just been on fire the last 3 or 4 weeks. Again, I watch a lot of soccer now. That's kind of the main sport that I bet, and we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get at least 2. Certainly, you have an outside chance of maybe a 3-goal type of game, but if you get 2 and even one is certainly winnable. In a spot where there may not be a field goal in the first quarter, may not be a lot of scoring. As you talked about, Aaron, with your under 10 on that one, certainly viable there. And my last one is I have the Kansas City touchdowns over Cagliari and Lazio goals combined. That one is a pick, and actually now I have to lay a little bit of juice. I did not get that one right away. It opened +105. I actually have it at -110, unfortunately. But Yeah, so I mean, more towards hopefully the scoring that we get, or that I'm hopefully expecting in this game. Again, Kansas City touchdowns. How many can they have? Well, relatively speaking, I think 3 to 4 makes the most sense. And even if it's somewhere in the 2 range, the goals are going to be coming from Lazio in this game if they do come. And I'm not sure. I don't really know. That's a team that plays up and down. They play down to the level of competition very, very often. Sierra Immobile has not been playing well, certainly as this season has come into play, and he's their main scorer on that team. So I'm going to go with the KC touchdowns and just try to ride the beast here and go with it at minus 110 pick.
I was looking at these cross sports. I know, Spike, we're going to get to you in just a second. I was actually kind of shocked. I know that, a lot of the Golden Knights props because we're in Vegas against the Super Bowl, but I was actually shocked that at least the Superbook, I can't speak for everybody, didn't throw anything out with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tampa Bay Lightning cross sport props.
Oh.
Well, I mean that does seem strange, but truth be told, I actually don't have any cross sports props this time around. I just couldn't find. I know I just couldn't find anything.
What's
where
wrong
I said,
with you?
All right, well, here,
Yes.
I'm gonna make you make this pick right here. Ready?
All right, go for it.
Chiefs and Buccaneers touchdowns plus a half over Golden Knights 2020-2021 Stanley Cup playoff victories.
Total touchdowns over Golden Knights playoff victories.
Winning series we're talking about?
No, just playoff
No.
wins. There's a series bet, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all right, I'm in.
Okay, what do you have?
Yeah, no, I'll take the touchdowns in that one.
Okay, I'll take the Knights Cup playoff wins minus the half. I'll throw your standard 5 on it.
All right, that works.
All right, cool.
I like Aaron's side on that one.
Especially if they get to the conference final or the final 4, whatever it is.
Clearly, yes.
If they run deep, then yeah, I mean, then I'm screwed. I don't think this team is built to run deep. So
I think if they get past the first round, you're probably good, Aaron.
Maybe so. Yeah, 4 wins. I mean, if they can get past the first round, that's 4 wins. It's a lot of touchdowns they got to score. But this is a Super Bowl that could happen. So
yeah.
All right, time for MVP props, and we'll get to the big shebang at the end here, but let's get to the actual real MVPs. And Token, coming through clutch, found this Circa offers action on no MVP for a player not to win an MVP. And my first thought immediately was, what is Patrick Mahomes not to win the MVP? And I saw him at minus 130. So I am going to make that bet at minus 130 for him to basically get the field against Patrick Mahomes, and especially if Token gets his way and Patrick Mahomes gets knocked out of the game. So I am laying the no on Patrick Mahomes minus 130 at the MVP. So I'll read off my guys that I have for MVP here, and then I'll save my MVP bet with Token for the end after everybody lists theirs. I have Mecole Hardman at 80-1 at the Superbook here, and I have also, if he can have a Derrick Henry type day, 100-1 Ronald Jones the second. I would love to see him just blast off for 185 and 3 touchdowns. I think that would lock it up, even if Mahomes or Brady had a good day.
I also like the Hardman bet, as you had Aaron at 81. I saw it drop down to 61 at William Hill. I also have no MVP for Mahomes at minus 130, even though he has increased value at Circa, I know, to minus 110, minus 120, currently roughly around that value. So I'm sure it's probably almost a pick him or even money for the no on him.
How much action do you think Circa's going to take on that?
That one specifically, I think a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually asked. I'll interject quickly here. They do this for golf on a weekly basis. You can always bet the yes or no, usually after each round too. And I asked one of the managers there how much they take normally on golf or whenever they allow that to happen. And he said you'd be surprised how much action they get on the nose, people just laying big chalk, not just necessarily general public people, but he thinks some pretty smart guys out there that they take quite a bit, sometimes on both sides, and they get relatively good equal action.
Wow.
Yep.
Because you look at some of these lines.
They're nuts, yeah.
I mean, they're crazy for the no MVPs. I mean, like I said, I'm looking here at Patrick Mahomes minus 130. But if you want to lay 11,000 on Edwards-Helaire not to make it, by all means, go for it.
Oh yeah, no, they want this action. Yeah, this is it's certainly a good thing, and I agree. And they get it a lot with golf too. Guys that may be out or close by, people will lay thousands, on the no, to win a few hundred, and it's just. They have a nice comp program up there, so he thinks that might be a little bit involved as well. But still, it's a fascinating thing, and even despite the comps, they certainly welcome the action. No question about that.
Wow.
Yeah. So for my own one, let me just jump in quickly. I'll be quick because I only have one, and it is Antoine Winfield at 175. I love this guy since he's come into the league here as a rookie. I liked him a lot in college. He's a guy that has the ability not only to for an interception sense, but he can run back kicks. Was a great returner back in college as well. So the ability to run back these interceptions for touchdowns, I think, gives an outside chance. He's a young, fun, great player to watch. So at 175, I just took a flyer there for him.
Yeah, and especially he should be fully healthy now after
Hopefully.
missing. Yeah. So the last Super Bowl MVP for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was also a safety. So Dexter Jackson.
Very nice. Wow, good information there.
Wow. I don't envision a scenario where the quarterbacks don't win this MVP. So I agree. In the idea of taking a flyer, I just kind of I think Tyreek Hill has the potential to do this, especially if he gets 2 or 3 of those giant plays that we've seen him put up during the regular season. That could certainly sway him. The number I see is 16-1 at the Superbook. I think between the Tampa Bay tight ends, I think Brate at 100-1 is getting a better line than Gronkowski at 50-1. I think there's more value there. I think he has the potential to have the more yards, potentially the more touchdowns than Gronk. So if there's a tight end on Tampa Bay that has the potential to win it, I think I would put the money on Brate. Not something I'm going to touch myself because, again, I think it's not.
Did you really say that?
Yeah, it's either Brady or Mahomes. I mean, I don't see a scenario where it's not.
Yeah, we hope you don't touch yourself. So
there you go.
All right, and it's time, as we do every year, to make the tattoo bet token. Nobody else wanted into this one this year, so
yeah.
For the 4th straight year, it's you versus me.
Is it 4 years already?
It's crazy. Or fourth Super Bowl. Yeah, fourth.
Oh, okay.
100-1 or greater. Got to be a defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you give yours first.
I like Ndamukong Suh in this one. I got him at 101 before he dropped in value, currently to 75-1. But I really like that. I think if he doesn't get ejected in this one, he's a bit he's a big difference maker in this Tampa Bay defensive line. So
it's been a long time since he's been ejected, but the stigma is always there. You never quite know.
It's been a while, but you still got to look at it. So.
Yeah, I looked at a few guys here. I looked at Antoine Winfield Jr. I never saw him at 175-1, so good bet on you there, Tony. Another guy I looked at is a couple of guys I have for the interception props, Sean Murphy, Bunting, Carlton Davis. I just don't know if one interception is enough. So I wanted to go with Devin White, but he was not available at 100-1 or greater. So I went with his running mate, Lavonte David, who I talked about earlier with having over 7.5 tackles. If he can get 1 or 2 picks, maybe get one return for a touchdown like Derek Brooks, circa 2002. Defensive struggle game, we get the under, by a mile. I'm looking at Lavonte David, a tattoo on your ass at 100-1.
Okay, well, I'll take the tattoo on my ass. It won't show everything.
It'll be a tattoo of Lavonte David in his scariest voice, or scariest face
It'll be like Impractical Jokers. What was it?
Exactly. Except you'll have a big.
It won't be on the thigh. It'll be on the rump.
No, you'll have a big ferocious black guy on your ass for the rest of your life.
Oh, I'm sure the lady would be pleased with that.
So let's go, Levante, right there.
She doesn't stare at my ass without clothes on that much, so.
Good to know.
Wow.
So
This
Levante,
thing has turned.
Levante David at 100-1, right on Token's rump shaker. All right, Token, speaking of that, you've got some daily fantasy here to wrap up the show.
Yes, I do.
Let's make $1 million, my friend.
Okay. So this week being the last week of the year, we got, and DraftKings does things a little differently. We
got DeAndre Swift for 8,400.
Never. No, DraftKings has 5 flex positions and then 1 player in addition at 1.5 times the points. So I took Tom Brady at 1.5 times the points for $15K. We got Gronk for $3K. I think he's good for probably 1 or 2 touchdowns. We got the Tampa Bay defense for $2,800. I think they are good for a decent amount of sacks, a couple turnovers, and a defensive score, if not a safety, if not both. We got Godwin for $8,800. We got Tyreek Hill for $10K 400. And then we got Leonard Fournette for $7,800.
There you have it. He's got all the flex positions, and he takes a defense.
Yeah, how many people are going to have a defense? If you want to win
Not
the million,
many.
I guess that's how it happens, right?
An interesting spot if he's able to win. Yeah, absolutely.
Couple safeties, that's a lot of points.
Yes, it is, Token. Yes, and if it lands on 4, what do we get, Aaron? What do we get?
Well, usually, like I told you guys at the golf podcast, I take you guys to Pebble, but Spike would just sit in the cart and not drink and be our
Yeah, that's true. I forgot he doesn't drink.
our DJ. So, all right, let's see. I mean, because I would make 100K on it. Or no, I'm not sorry, 100K, 10K on it. So let's see what we'll have to. If it, you know what, if it hits, we'll cross that bridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if it does hit, my initial thought process is when the Raiders are allowing fans, we'll go to a Raiders game next year.
There we go.
I like that.
Yep.
So, all right, well, that was everything jam-packed for the big game, number 55 here between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. If you stayed this far, God bless you. We appreciate it. Hopefully our bets make you some money. There's a lot of information we've just packed in the last, I believe, 90 minutes or so here. But we also would be remiss if we didn't thank the sponsors, first and foremost, obviously 12-Ounce Sports Network. That broadcasts us in both audio and video formats. Please check out 12ozsportsnetwork.com and make sure you check out the store so you can get sweet golf polos like this and coffee mugs, beach towels, much more. Also, please check us out on Spotify, search 12-Ounce Sports, and Apple Podcasts, search 12-Ounce Sports. That's where you can listen to us, as well as 12ouncesportsnetwork.com. Also, our title sponsors, Vice Golf and Fanatics. Please visit lvsquares.com, click the sponsors page, and shop using those dedicated affiliate links, which are found on those sponsors page. If you're looking for a gift for that golf fan or the sports fan in your life, you definitely need to get it from Fanatics or Vice Golf using our dedicated affiliate links. Also, the HEATR bet tracking app. What better day to track your bets than Super Bowl Sunday? Oop, I said it. Oh, well, we'll find out if I get a cease and desist letter. It's an independent sports data and entertainment company focused on enhancing your experience, you the better. It's the leading mobile sports bet tracker designed for real-time in-play monitoring, tracking bets, and live scores all in one place. Download it today on your iPhone and get tracking today. Also, In the Hole Golf, the 12-Ounce Sports sponsor with the latest golf clubs, aids, equipment, GPS systems, etc. And our local guy, Mr. Kevin Packpack himself at ProAm Customs. Customized golf clubs are not just for the pros, they are for everyone. At ProAm Custom, the only limit is your imagination. Message them on Instagram at ProAm Custom today and tell them that the Vegas Squares sent you. All right, boys. I know this means nothing, but give us some final score predictions.
23-13, Tampa Bay wins.
Oh, I love it.
Wow. 2013. That was a little shocker. Okay. Tough one. 27-24, Kansas City. just
The
so
exact
I can
score
get
of
my middle.
the.
Yeah, I want my middle. So I mean, it still stays under. It's still a decent size.
That was the exact score of the Week 12 matchup. That's what I was saying.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I'm staying with it. I'm
Yeah.
staying with it. I did not think about that, Aaron. You're a good call. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, there you go.
I'll go with the over. I'll say 38-30. Kansas City wins.
Nice. All right, and I'm saying Tom Brady gets number 7 by the tune of 26-19. Funky scores.
Wow.
But in my dreamland, I'm going to say Tom Brady gets number 7 by a score of 31-4.
Yeah, that's a better answer. Good.
That's my dream scenario. So, all right, we appreciate you guys listening again. Check out all of our sponsors. We just listed them. They've been scrolling across the screen as well during the whole podcast. You can find that podcast on YouTube. Search Vegas Squares Podcast. For Spike, for Token Tony, for Tony Johnson, I am Aaron. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the time with your family. Good luck on your bets, and we will catch you on the next one. We are out.